My mother spent years using my allergy against me and calling it bad luck. It started when I was 7. She packed a peanut butter sandwich, even though the school had my allergy on file. The nurse called her frantically while I wheezed on the office floor, hives climbing my neck. Diane showed up 20 minutes later, blank-faced. That night, my dad Mark mentioned my grandmother's will at dinner, and Diane's jaw tightened the way it always did when money came up. Grandma Ruth had always favored me, and everyone knew it. Years of mistakes followed, snacks that weren't quite my usual brand, sauce she forgot about, candy on my pillow with a wrapper just off enough that I never noticed until my throat did. My dad worked nights and never saw the pattern. She timed everything around his shifts. Afterward, she'd stroke my hair and buy me gifts, apologizing for things she insisted weren't her fault, until I half believed I was the careless one. The breaking point came the week after my 17th birthday. Grandma Ruth had died 2 months earlier and left everything to me, with Diane as trustee until 21 with one clause neither of us understood yet. Grandma never trusted Diane with money. The moment the trust transferred to me at 18, an automatic audit of every transaction Diane had made would run, but that clause existed only because I was the one inheriting. If I died first, the trust collapsed into the will's fallback line, naming Diane outright no transfer, no audit, and the administrative fees she'd quietly pulled would never be looked at. I didn't understand any of this yet. Diane did. She baked a chocolate cake and insisted we celebrate just the two of us, since Dad was working a double. She watched me take the first bite with a small waiting smile, and I knew something was wrong before my throat started to close. The cake was loaded with peanut flour, far more than any accident. I barely reached my EpiPen while she stood there. The paramedic said I was lucky. I understood the timing only later. If I made it to 18, the audit ran no matter what, and if I didn't, none of it would ever be looked at. Everything in me wanted to handle it alone, quietly, the way she'd always handled me. But in the ER, once Diane stepped out, a doctor pulled me aside and said quietly, "The amount in that cake, this doesn't read as an accident. I'm documenting it." I was 17 and terrified, and I knew if I fought her alone, she'd get to the adults first, with her tears and her reputation as the devoted mother of a sick child. So instead, I gathered. I got the ER doctor's documentation, my own medical records, every reaction since age 7, logged by date, and the school nurse's incident reports. On my 3rd night in the hospital, I logged into the family cloud account Diane set up years ago to manage bills, before I had my own, and never unlinked. Buried in the synced mail was a thread with the estate attorney, dated the week the audit clause was explained to her, asking one question 3 ways. What happened to the trust if the beneficiary didn't survive to 18? A second thread, same week, was with a life insurance agent about a policy on a minor. I forwarded it all to an account she didn't know I had not to hurt her, but to be believed. When I was discharged, I didn't confront her. I took everything, the emails, the audit clause, the records, the pattern of dates, to my dad first, since I finally understood he'd never seen it. Then to a lawyer of my own. Then to the police, with the ER doctor's statement leading the way. The emails broke it open, they gave her a motive with a deadline. A grieving mother is easy to believe. A trustee who asked a lawyer 3 ways what happens if the underage beneficiary doesn't live to inherit is not. A forensic accountant found the missing fees too. Money that would have stayed invisible if the audit had never triggered. Detectives lined it against years of reactions that conveniently happened when my father was at work, and a lethal dose in a cake baked 2 months before my 18th birthday. She was arrested. She tried the tears, the story about how careless I'd always been. It didn't hold for the first time. It wasn't my word against hers. It was a decade of records, an audit trail, and her own handwriting. My dad was destroyed once he saw it all laid end to end, but he stood between her and me the moment he understood. My inheritance went to an independent trustee, out of her reach. She's serving time now, for the fraud alone, but the DA didn't have to choose. She's serving both. I didn't become her. I just refused to let her rewrite one more version of events where I was the problem. I'm 20 now. In college, my allergy managed by people I trust. I still double check every label out of habit, but I sleep now, which I couldn't do for years. The truth was never a weapon I had to build. It was one she left behind, one email at a time.